All right, cool. So if y'all are ready, I'll do the intro and we'll jump into it.
All right, go ahead, do your thing.
Cool. All right. Welcome everybody to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your hold on, something's feeding back on me. That doesn't sound good. All right, we're squared away. Cool. I heard that and I was just like, oh, that sounds terrible. Hope it's not getting picked up, but we're good. All right. Welcome everybody to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quat, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today we have a very special guest. We have Ducky Neptune. How's it going today, guys?
It's going well.
Going well, man.
Excited to have you. Excited to have you on. So first off, before we kind of jump into everything, y'all are currently based out of Nashville, correct?
That is correct. Nashville, Tennessee, the east side of Nashville, Tennessee.
Nice. How are things going in Nashville for you?
Things are going well. It's where we formed this little project, so it's our home
Nice.
base, most definitely.
Nice. And originally, the two of you, or before we kind of jump into everything, let's have you introduce yourselves individually, just so people kind of have names to faces and all that stuff.
I'm Shane, and I play guitar
Nice.
and sing sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
My name is Josh. I play bass and I sing.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, glad to have you guys here. And you guys you're both originally from the East Coast, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah, I'm from North Carolina, and
Okay.
Shane's from Ontario.
Gotcha. Awesome. Oh, and so then how'd you guys kind of end up coming together as Ducky Neptune? What's kind of the origin story for the band?
You want to take the lead on that? You go for it. Shane. I moved here as a songwriter, and then Shane came in to visit he was actually living in British Columbia, and he came down to visit, and he was looking at subleasing the room that I was moving out of.
Oh.
And as I was showing him that space, he was like, "Hey, you play music?" I was like, "Yeah, you play music." Then we exchanged information and then started songwriting ever since.
Nice. And was there wasn't like the intent of actually making it into a project. It's just kind of a couple guys coming together and it turns into Ducky Neptune, or
Yeah, we started writing music together, and then we
Mhm.
looked at forming another band, and then slowly we started building enough material and turned into a project,
Gotcha. Awesome. And how long have y'all been performing together as Ducky Neptune?
3 years.
3 years.
So early
Pretty much.
pandemic.
Yeah, we started like I think we made our first recording like a week before the pandemic.
Mhm.
You guys got it in just in time, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And so kind of starting up the band, obviously you didn't know what was going to happen, but how much did the pandemic kind of affect you? Obviously it affected every band differently, but was there thought of like, okay, it's just this one recording and that's going to be it? Or how did the pandemic kind of initially affect you guys?
Well, we both stayed in Nashville throughout the pandemic,
Mhm.
and ultimately we just used it as time to write and to try to build a larger repertoire.
Gotcha. Fair enough. I think that's pretty consistent across the board. Like, even if musicians didn't have the recordings to kind of push out and release and kind of sustain themselves for a year or so, they took that time to write, which makes sense, going through the early stages of the band, who were some of the influences you were looking at, or who were you listening to during those early stages of Ducky Neptune?
I mean, when we created it, we definitely thought we only needed one electric guitar,
Mm.
which is pretty different from a lot of the music that we actually listen to. So like we kind of like took some influences from older rock and roll bands that maybe would have a single guitarist. Other than that, we both definitely like I remember there used to be a surf rock sunshine playlist on Spotify.
Mhm.
We both like agreed that was probably the best Spotify curated playlist. And so we kind of have like that West Coast influence. Simply from that.
Nice. So so or according to Spotify, and maybe it's more this more recent or the new project that you have coming out here, the end of the week, correct? Is that
Yeah. So in 3 days on Friday, June 23rd.
okay. Yeah, I have no concept of time anymore. It's just kind of like their days, they all mix together, and it's like, all right, sure, 23rd. That
23rd, full length album, 34 minutes of music, streaming everywhere.
nice. And it's called Insensitive Plastic, correct? Yep.
Sir.
It was there any intent behind that name, or was it just kind of something that randomly came together?
I'll let you take the lead on that.
Yeah, when we were trying to figure out a name for the record, we were like, there's 4 of us in the band. So we all like thought of names and wrote them on a board, but it was like, you're not supposed to say who wrote it, you know. Try to be least biased.
Yeah.
And then we just narrowed it down, but eventually we picked that one, which I came up with.
Nice.
But yeah, it's kind of just how it worked.
So coming into this project, did you specifically start writing for this full length album, or were you just kind of writing music and it was like, hey, we should probably put this into an album of some sort? Was there intent for the project, or was it just kind of you were writing and it turned into a project?
Well, I think we had a grouping of songs, and as we started to write them, we realized how like kind of folky they were. There were songs about people, so we decided to have each track have a different person's name. Or yeah, so that was kind of like one of the things that started grouping the songs together, because there were some songs that we had at the time that didn't. There's a song that we used to play called Honey, or like one called Medicine Man, and we left those out because they weren't written for this project. But some of the songs that we were writing didn't have titles, and then we gave it a person's name, so that way it could be grouped with it.
Yeah.
So there's that whole situation. Also, we lucked out and went down to Muscle Shoals.
Nice.
And once we had that booked is when we really were like, all right, so what are we going to show up with? Because we want to be prepared when we step into the studio.
Yeah, for sure.
And
good. Sorry. Good.
And then the 2 things that bookend the whole album are instrumental sections that we just came up with in the studio. So
Gotcha. It's always good to show up to, and I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but just showing up to the studio prepared just shows signs of good musicians and good musicians practice, or music practice. I guess that's the word I want to use. So you went down to Muscle Shoals to record this album. What was that experience like?
Oh man, it was magical.
Yeah, it was just, it kind of felt like nothing was really going on outside of what we were doing. We weren't really paying attention to anything else, except it's a pretty quiet place. It's not like recording in a big city, or not like even like you're too isolated, you know, where there's that element of it. It's just kind of just a small town. You go in the studio and no one's around, and you leave and no one's around. But it's a beautiful place.
For sure. It almost seems like to go and record at Muscle Shoals is you're very intentional. Like that's what you're going to do. You're not there to do anything else. You're there to record, sleep, wake up the next day and do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, we did long days. I mean, we were in there every day at 10.
I mean, we did over 60 hours in 5 days.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it was exhausting, but it also felt like vacation all the same.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've ever been on a vacation where when you get back to doing the hustle and bustle of your everyday, you're kind of almost in shock that everybody was doing the hustle and bustle while you were gone.
Yeah.
You know, That's how I felt returning back. I was like, oh, there's this other side of life that I totally forgot about.
Hmm. I've definitely been in those situations where we get out and like for Live and Amplified, we'll get out and do like acoustic recording sessions. Like we'll just go if they're like live sessions or whatever you want to call it. And back in the early days of Live and Amplified, we just hit the road and we disappear for a week and a half. And it was the easiest week and a half we'd ever do. It'd be minimal sleep, just work all the time. But it was easy, it was fun, it was cool. And then we come back and it's like, I want to go back on the road.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
we were getting maybe 3 hours of sleep a night and we're probably killing ourselves, but it was easy.
Yeah.
So I 100% get where you're going at. So kind of approaching the final stages of this upcoming album, Insensitive Plastic. Uh, what's it been like leading up to the album as far as like releasing? Are you guys doing shows and all that fun stuff, or what are you guys kind of doing to promote the album right now?
Well, right now we're just going to hit online presence. We just did some live in the studio recordings, which we're going to get those nice and edited and cleaned up for the audience. And then July 30th, we're going to have a party here in Nashville.
Nice.
And the plan is to have our friends even join us on stage for like one set where we have a little bit of fun, and then have another set where we play the album in its entirety.
Mhm. So it'll almost be like a
playing
listening.
We've been playing lots the last year, really.
Yeah.
Are you playing pretty much around Nashville, or are you getting out like outside, going up to like Chicago or down south a little bit?
Maybe about, what was it, 2 months ago we went to Chicago,
Yeah.
Cincinnati, Indiana. The goal is to, at the end of this year, go down to Florida. Looking at going to North Carolina, which is my home state, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Would this be your first time hitting back to North Carolina since you moved to Nashville?
Yeah, it will be.
Nice. That'll be fun. That first time back is always a good experience.
Absolutely.
So you both are Ducky Neptune's y'all been together, playing together for about 3 years now. How long have you both been in Nashville?
3 years for me.
3 years? Okay.
Yeah, I've been here for 6 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I moved here really to be a songwriter. I wanted to write for other people. That was my goal. And then slowly I realized that if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. So,
Yeah.
So now we're performing.
Hey, you know what though? You came out here for a reason, and now you're living a completely different dream. You're adaptable. That's really cool. So, so Ducky Neptune, you're playing. You said you've been playing shows pretty consistently, and that you have pretty good ambitions for the rest of the year to get out like down to Florida and all that fun stuff. When it comes to like outside of music, when it's time for y'all to just like take a break from each other or whatever it is, what are some of your hobbies? What do you do to kind of step away from each other?
I myself, I'm an outdoorsman. I like to go out into the woods. I think we all like to travel.
Travel outside. I mean, these days pretty much just work and do music, but yeah, traveling is probably the most fun thing to do outside, but it doesn't seem we've had a lot of time lately.
Yeah, fair. So are you both full-time musicians, or is music the main support for you, or do you have like main side jobs or 9-to-5 jobs, whatever you want to call it?
I mean, none of us have 9 to 5, but we all have side hustles, side jobs.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome.
We rehearse. We practice and rehearse and write a lot. So, but when we're not doing that, we're working somewhere else.
Gotcha. So Ducky Neptune is kind of like the main gig, and then you have other things that are kind of keeping things afloat while Ducky Neptune kind of finds its footing and all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would like to say we do like 4 days a week of Ducky Neptune and then 4 days a week of side hustle. We're working 8 days a week.
Yeah.
And that's just going.
Yeah. Oh, so before you guys came together as Ducky Neptune, um, or who introduced you to music originally? Was it something that ran in your families, or who kind of introduced you to music originally?
Music's my father's Black Caribbean.
Mhm.
It's a Garifuna tribe. And music's pretty much in the culture. So I remember being young and like playing polyrhythms on the kitchen table and trying to sing at the same time.
Mm.
So that's kind of like, not that he was a professional musician, but he played guitar, played flute, like knew a little bit of music theory. That's kind of the basis of where I started.
And that was like your initial influence was the Black Caribbean music.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say so. I mean, my mom liked funk vinyl records.
Mhm.
She also liked songwriters like James Taylor or Van Morrison, a lot of Paul Simon.
Nice.
But
Yes.
Shane got started because he didn't want to play sports, or what was the story?
Yeah, well, I just needed something to do, really. So I started playing. But my mom listened to a lot of music. Like as kids, pretty much just always had music on in the house. She was always playing something, and she had a huge collection of. She didn't have any vinyl, but she had a shit ton of CDs.
Yeah.
Which I don't know where those are now. Probably in the garbage, but no one really collects CDs, do they?
No. I know a lot of my CDs broke from when I was a kid. Like they'd get super scratched or somebody stepped on them, and you know, it's just
it's
kind
weird
of
how they're just maybe they'll come back one day.
maybe. I don't know.
Vintage one day.
Did people have attachments to CDs kind of like the generations did to vinyls back in like the 70s and 80s and stuff like that?
Well, I think as cars become vintage, if what
Yeah.
they have to play is a CD deck, then like those are the people that shop for CDs.
Hmm.
I mean, I shop for CDs specifically because I don't have Bluetooth in my car.
Fair.
So I just run the CD player.
Yeah. Very fair. I have the reverse problem. My car died a couple of years ago, and so I had to force myself to buy a new one. And it doesn't have a CD player, and it's like, okay, so what do I do with all these like demo albums and all these things that bands and stuff send me? It's like none of my computers have CD-ROMs or any of that stuff. So it's like,
Nothing
okay,
anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so then I just started investing in vinyl. I was like, well, I can at least control that, and you know, I don't have to worry about it so much. So
There you go.
Yeah, and vinyl's nice, but it is an investment.
it is. It really is. Like you go to the store, and it's $40 for a CD that you could buy for 15 or 10, you know, like whatever it is. And it's like,
Stream online. You could stream
Yeah.
it for free.
yeah, that's true. So it's like I have to really like the band or really like the music to make that kind of investment. But
Yeah.
you know, it's like buying a piece of art.
Yeah.
There you
So
go.
yeah. So being in Nashville, you got a whole bunch of musicians around, a whole bunch of shows always going on. Have you guys been to any cool shows recently out in Nashville?
We're about to go to the coolest show.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where my mind jumped.
Yeah. What's the last show? We saw a band from the UK.
Mhm.
They were in town a month ago.
Probably a month ago.
They were great. They were playing the same night Taylor Swift was playing.
Nice. That's awesome. I feel like the UK's got a really buzzing scene just across the board, no matter what genre it is. The UK's just got something going on right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're seeing Idols. You know, have you heard of them?
No.
They're playing on Friday, opening up for LCD Sound System.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
A good show.
That should be really good. Now when shows like that happen, where are they usually at? There, because I don't imagine that's at like the Ryman or anything. Where do those kind of shows usually happen?
This one's at like a park in town.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like It's called like Reset Concert Series. It's like touring around America right now.
Okay, nice. That's really cool. Where's your favorite place to hang out that isn't like a typical touristy place in Nashville? Like, what's your favorite locals spot, I guess?
I like this place called Dino's.
Okay.
It's like a bar and grill.
Mm-hmm.
You get a cheap PBR, burger, or
Nice.
fried chicken sandwich.
Nice.
Fries, and you can make them animal style or Joe style for a
That's-
small additional
He
charge.
probably knows the menu.
Every time I go to Nashville, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, go down to Broadway or go do this," and it's like, no, where do you hang out on like a Thursday night? That's where I want to go. I don't want to go and pay $30 for parking or whatever it is that
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
downtown. Yeah, sorry.
And listen to a bunch of pop country.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I don't want to keep y'all too much longer here, but kind of moving forward into the summer, you got the new album dropping on the 23rd. What's kind of running through your mind right now as you're kind of approaching the finish line for this release?
I just want to have artwork and media to keep people chewing on the meal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We got a bunch of new songs in the works too. We want to get another record going.
Nice. You think that's something you want to try and get on before the end of the year, or you want to give this this project a little time to breathe before you automatically get that next project out?
I mean, we're not going to use the full lifespan of a new release.
Mhm.
Say like releases now, you can promote them for like 9 months to a year after.
Mhm.
And I think well within 9 months, we'll have our demos done and we'll be shopping to record the new material.
Mhm.
So we're going to promote it for like, you know, probably the rest of the year, but a lot of our work will be going to the new stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Which, you know, I think that's a lot of things that musicians kind of underestimate is, you know, you work so hard to get this project out, and then you've got to have that next project ready within 6, 9, 12 months. But while you're working on that project, you have to still promote the other project, or you're kind of putting all that energy to waste, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then for anybody that wants to check out your music and any of that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
I mean, anywhere that you like to stream music, really we want it to be user friendly, which is the world of today.
Mhm.
So if you're an Apple user, you use Apple Music. It seems like the majority of our friends use Spotify, but I mean, we're going to be on YouTube. We're going to be everywhere. If you don't have a subscription based,
Yeah, literally everywhere.
Stream.
SoundCloud, it's all there.
Yeah.
for
It's everywhere.
sure.
But really, we're trying to be in the back of movies. So if anybody watches this podcast and they do sync placements, we're pretty cinematic.
Sync placements is a thing that I'm surprised more musicians aren't chasing after. Like, I don't know the whole process of it, but I've seen some musicians do really well on sync placements. So it's a untapped resource for a lot of musicians. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, some musicians, that's how they catch their break.
mhm. Well, I remember back in like the 90s when I was growing up, video game placement was how I heard a lot of the music that I was listening to. Like, you know, the original Madden series had a bunch of music that I really turned me on to different bands and stuff. And then the same thing for like Tony Hawk Pro Skater was how I found out about you know, like Goldfinger and all them punk ska bands.
I'm
So
pretty sure that's when anyone hears Superman, that's what they think of.
yep, 100%. Anytime it comes on the radio, it's like, oh, it's like I'm playing Tony Hawk again. This is
Yeah.
great. This is the moment. So, one thing that we like to do before we wrap this up is, as live and amplified, we like to pass on information and knowledge to the younger musicians. So, what's a piece of advice that you've picked up throughout your careers as musicians that you'd like to pass on to the younger generation?
I mean, the leap of faith is real.
Mm-hmm.
You got to like decide you're going to do it and then do it relentlessly and realize it's a 10-year industry. It's going to take some time.
For sure.
That's what I mean, I heard it as a young musician, but to hear it again, never heard.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, you just have to work until you're where you want to be. You can't, it's not, yeah, you just got to work hard.
fair.
There's no,
Perfect.
nothing else.
And sometimes the work is like not what you expected it to be. A lot of times it's like photo shoots, which you're like, you dread it. Or maybe social media, like writing the right caption, all this. You have to, before you can get a 360 deal, you have to do 360 degrees of all that it takes to create the business.
Yep. You
So,
have to put in the legwork yourself before
Yeah.
anybody else will come in and help
do it.
you.
Yeah, you got to make
Yep.
the website. You got to like answer emails. You got to go, you got to be your own booking agent.
Yep.
Yeah.
100% agree. You got to be willing to show that you're willing to do it.
Mhm.
You know, even you brought up the website and stuff. Even if you don't know how to make a website and you just put something really bad together, and then somebody's like, "Oh, I like the promise in this," but here's how you make it better. So
Yeah.
just taking
But
that
the
leap.
further you go, those people keep popping up.
Yeah.
And helping you, the more you stick around. I think when people see that you're working hard, it
Makes an impression. You know?
Yeah, for sure. But once again, thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. It's been an absolute blast chatting with y'all. And then one last time, what are the social handles?
Everything's Ducky Neptune, Ducky, Ducky, Neptune, like the planet.
it's the
And
only thing you'll find when you type in Ducky Neptune is us. I
Nice.
guarantee it. Unless you go to like the 12th page, 13th page.
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
got you.
Find us.
For sure. But once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's been an absolute blast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you want to support Live and Amplified, liveandamplified.net is the website and the best place to find all of our fun information, socials, podcasts, radio shows, all that fun stuff. But once again, Ducky Neptune, Josh and Shane, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will
Thanks,
catch
sir.
y'all later.
all
Take
right.
care, man.
Have a good one.
Yep. Awesome.